Oh, Hello, everyone. Welcome. I'm Andrew Fazakis, the Night Sky Guy, here for Astronomers Without Borders. And guess what? It is finally here. Global Astronomy Month 2023. This is the 14th annual edition. I can't believe I'm saying that. 14 edition of Global Astronomy Month, the world's largest astronomical festival. We're here to celebrate humanity's connection to the cosmos, to the night sky, all the wonders of the universe. It really is magical. Global Astronomy Month started at Astronomers Without Borders. It was the seed of it was planted in the International Year of Astronomy back in 2009. It grew out of that. And we've been holding it every year in the whole month of April, just spending the entire month of April celebrating astronomy. And it's folks everywhere. AWBs in over 140 different countries. We've got thousands of members strewn across the entire globe, and we're all together under one sky. And that, in fact, is what the motto of AWB is. It's one people, one sky. AWB is here to break down borders, all kinds of borders, be it geographical, cultural, gender, political. It matters not. We are all under that same beautiful dome of the night sky and the wonders that it contains. And during Global Astronomy Month, we love to celebrate that. And so we invite you to come on board and check out our events that are all month long. We've got a calendar. We've got the link actually um, in the chat underneath. You should take a look. There's a link there. It's very easy. It's gam-awb.org. That is the shortened link. Easy to remember, gam-awb.org. You go there and you can check out the calendar. And all throughout the month, we celebrate the sun. We've got a global star party where we get local parties around the world to share on our platform what they're doing with the public, all these showing all the different wonders of the universe. We've got different talks set up throughout the month as well, observation events of things like conjunctions. Did you know that, for instance, that the planet Venus is going to be moving close through a beautiful star cluster and one of the most magnificent, brightest, closest clusters that you can see with the naked eye even. It's going to be absolutely beautiful. We'll be doing a live stream of that. And there is going to be other amazing things too. And one of those amazing things is actually what we're doing today. We're going to be having a very special webinar today about adventures in astronomical live streaming. Now, what that is about, as the name implies, it's all related to about the live streaming the wonders of the night sky, or in some cases, things that happen in the daytime as well, some amazing cosmic things in the daytime. And so we are going to be joined by some special guests today who will be joining me in discussing some of what we call the adventures in live streaming in the astronomical field. I mean, there's some amazing things from eclipses to meteor showers to, as I've mentioned, conjunctions, lots of really interesting things that with the power of the internet, we can kind of bring it out to the world so that everyone can enjoy together some of these wonders, even if you're not in the right place at the right time. Perhaps it's cloudy where you are. Perhaps you don't have the right instruments, optical aids to really take advantage of watching and observing some kind of celestial event. But today we live in this age where we have the internet, we have the technology to connect telescopes, to connect camera lenses to the internet and basically stream amazing things. And so today we'll be talking about that. And if you have any questions, by the way, for our guests today, please do put them into the comment section and we'll try to answer them during our presentations as well. And without further ado, let me introduce to you our guest today. Let's see if I can bring everyone up here. There we are. Hold on. There we are. So we've got here, joining me today is Ann Buckle and Graham Jones. Hi, guys. You guys are with timeanddate.com. Here at AWB, we're so excited because we've been partnering with timeanddate.com for the last few years in bringing and raising awareness of astronomical events. And of course, timeanddate.com is the place to go, where I know I always go to find out when and where globally things are going to be happening, because of course AWB is an international organization. We have people everywhere, and sometimes it gets really confusing to know what time exactly locally events are happening. And we turn to, of course, timeanddate.com for that information and some absolutely exquisite live streams. And that's what we're here about today. Anne and Graham, thank you so much for joining me. Where are you guys located, by the way?
So the head office, the Time Date HQ, is in Stavanger. So I'm sitting in Stavanger, but Graham's not sitting in Stavanger with me. Where are you, Graham?
Ah, right. I'm based in Spain at the moment, but I'll be heading up to Stavanger next week to get ready for our Eclipse live show. So yes.
That's so cool, guys. Thanks for joining us. And of course, last but not least, it's Matt Woods from the Perth Observatory in Australia. Matt also doing live streams. Hi, nice of you to join
Hey,
us.
how you going? No worries.
Hey guys, this is great. You know, we invited you guys here because I think this is something that's very timely. There are a lot of folks out there that are doing live streams, astronomical. There's individuals, there are museums, planetariums, astronomy clubs. There's just such a wide variety of visual, and the beauty of the internet is it kind of democratizes the access to astronomy, right? So we're here to discuss, I guess, some of the challenges and tips and experiences that you guys had, and we've all had here at AWB too, on what this whole amazing burgeoning field is all about. So maybe I'm going to kick it off. I guess, Graham, what are your thoughts to start off with in terms of live streaming, I guess?
Yeah, sure. By the way, Andrew, first of all, we do just have to say thank you very much for having us on the show today. Global Astronomy Month really does get bigger and better and more brilliant every year. And you and your colleagues do a fantastic job. And yeah, it's a privilege to be here at the beginning of this year's Global Astronomy Month. So thanks very much for that.
Well, our pleasure.
We had a very short 1 minute video, a trailer, which tries to capture a bit of the live stream experience. And we wondered if we might just kick off by playing that.
All right, let's see if we can get that in here. Let's see your present. So you can queue up your presentation.
Okay.
Let's see if we can get that in here. All right.
Okay.
At Time and Date, we look up into the sky. We bring you exclusive footage from eclipses worldwide. We take our mobile observatory to where the action happens. Hi, Stefan.
Hi, Anna.
We collaborate with experts and observatories across the globe to bring you the best view of celestial events.
And we ordered the Devil's Horn just for you.
Now, we have to say thank you very much for your images tonight.
We explain how and show why it all happens while answering your questions during our live broadcast events.
That is a meteor.
Find your home and even more details on Time and Date. And subscribe to join us next time.
Very nice.
Hey, yeah, that was just to try to capture some of the fun and the drama of live streaming. there. Yeah, yeah.
So and Graham, you guys have been doing a live stream now for how many years?
We've been working together for 5 years, haven't we now, Graham, on live streams? So
That's right.
Wow.
Yeah, Time and Date's very first live stream was back in 2016 for the transit of Mercury in 2016. And yeah, we've been streaming transits, solar eclipses, lunar eclipses ever since then.
Wow. Wow. And this is, I guess, I mean, you guys are then eclipse chasers, then, I would say.
well, you could say that, but the reason that we got into it is that we have our amazing boss, Stefan Torsen, who it really is his passion to chase eclipses. So, we're not the ones, we're chasing after him.
I see. So you have someone who's really passionate about it, is willing to go literally to the ends of the earth to chase these, and you guys have to catch up and make sure that that things are live streamed. Then that.
Exactly right. And I mean, we're chasing eclipses ourselves. The other great thing that we're doing is we're having lots of fun collaborating with our partners around the globe. And of course, one of our great partners is Matt. There, we're going to be working together on the eclipse this month, the total solar eclipse in Australia, and that's going to be, is that right, Matt? The 6th time that Time and Date and Perth Observatory have.
Yeah, yeah. I still remember getting the email back in 2018 in January for the very first time. And I was like, yes, I got an email from Time and Date, because I can remember here in Australia we had there's Stuart Gary. He's now got space time with Stuart Gary, but we've got the Australian Broadcasting Corporation, but the ABC News Radio at that time when I was a teenager, they had Star Stuff with Stuart Gary, and I can remember them talking about Time and Date and how such a cool website it was. So I've used Time and Date since I've been a teenager, and to set up meetings for work and to do astronomy. And I was like, yes, I get it. Like we could, and I was like, I've always wanted to do live streaming of eclipses. I used to watch. In a previous life, I was a website developer, and I was lucky enough to have to be at the end of a series of work desks. And so I would have my monitors so that at least one couldn't be seen. And I would watch, while I was working, Fraser Cain's virtual star parties. And I would just have it in a small little window at the box. And that way, if someone came walking up, I could easily just minimize the image. And so I was able to see all this stuff in the Northern Hemisphere. And so I just never had time to actually properly learn how to do it and actually do it myself. And so Graham sent me the email saying, hey, look, we've had an issue with, I think it was a New South Wales observatory. They'd been hit by lightning, and there was also a bushfire nearby. There was a Japanese observatory that was snowed under as well at that point. And it was like, you're our last hope. It was like, we've got the know-how, we've got the technology. The only thing is the internet. And Graham finally really understood when he tried to call me the issues that we have in the Perth Hills. Like these aren't proper mountains. These are just simple little hills, and we don't have decent internet. And so we ended up figuring out that we could have a mobile router on top of our Lowell telescope dome, which is about 14.5 meters into the sky.
I have to leave.
You've got a fire alarm.
Yeah.
Oh no! That's live streaming.
Sorry, you guys.
Well, leave the
We'll
camera
see when
on.
you get back.
I'll leave the camera on. You can look at the background.
Okay. Bye, Anne. There you
Yeah,
go.
so that started off like we had my fellow volunteer Roger Groom, who does actually most of them with me. He chickened out on the July 2018 one because it was super early in the morning. Plus, it was like 2 degrees. So yeah, I still haven't forgiven him for chickening out on that one. But yeah, and it also helped because as soon as COVID happened, like here in West Australia, because we're one of the most isolated cities in the world, we were able to get out of lockdown for till about till I think May it was. They opened up the interstate borders, but apart from that, up until we didn't really have many lockdowns. So I was able to do go and do astronomy live streaming with our telescopes, and then Roger had got a property out in the central wheat belt in West Australia. And so we were able to do it from home, his home, my home, and he would just team view it into his observatory and run the telescope, and we'd have the feed come up, and we'd just choose the objects for the night, go through and write little notes that we needed, and run our little own virtual star parties.
Yeah,
I
that's
can't, but I can't beat that.
yeah. I mean, it's and this is the thing that's I find this so amazing when it comes for with live streaming, with what's happened around the world in the last couple of years. With the pandemic, it's really been an impact of how people are starting to did traditional outreach go, traditional in-person outreach, went towards, tried to think out of the box and go, well, how could I continue doing outreach, reaching the masses, but being able to do it virtually? It's really incredible. And and it's something that's around the world, right? I mean, Matt, this is
Yeah.
something that you've seen too, right? I'm sure.
Yeah, so it was funny because it was a couple of was it 2 weeks ago or so that the notifications on my Facebook started coming up saying, "Hey, you did astrophotography on this weekend," and that was the weekend of the lockdown. I was considered an essential personnel for the observatory, so I was allowed to keep on going to the observatory. Well, I got nothing to do at night time. I might as well get the camera out and start taking photos. And I can remember going, this would be really easy to do, and well, I'll just start doing live streaming. And I was doing it on Wednesday and Saturday, and it got publicized in the news. So we started getting we got after the first one, started getting a couple of thousand people viewing the live streams. The only problem was that the first 5 or 6 live streams were completely clouded out. So what I knew was I knew Fraser had issues previously with his virtual star parties where it would have to you'd go in for the usual time and find out that it had been cancelled because of clouds. So in the couple of days beforehand, if we had clear weather, I'd go and take astrophotography. So at least I had something to be able to show on the live stream. So this was the one that I prepared earlier. So and at least it had something, and we had families watching it on TV, and we had the chat, and as we started working along with it, I was able to bring more features into it. So we ended up getting a Discord channel, and so you could have people asking us questions in the show, and then it became a lot easier when Roger was able to say, "Hey, look, I'm happy to help you out and do it as well," and that took a lot of pressure off me because he was able to run the telescope, and I was able to be producer, and also run the actual virtual star party as well. And so you could answer. I could say, "Hey, this Roger, this person's asking about this question," and it just became like a little mini TV show.
And I guess that's also interesting in the aspect of where are these broadcasts stream to? I mean, in terms of the technology and devices, you mentioned, Matt,
Hmm.
that people are watching it on their television. And what's really neat is that today's smart television TVs have the ability to where you can download apps or and put in different things like Facebook, for instance, and you could watch a Facebook Live
Yeah.
on your TV. It's changed how television it works. Over the last few decades, it was 10 years ago. I mean, you had to put in a cable, and have cable sign up for cable television. Now you can
Yeah.
have individuals, streaming, and you can watch it on your television. It's incredible.
Yeah, I moved into my new house in June, and it took a bit to organise the digital aerial, but I didn't really even need it. Like, I come home. If I want to watch something, I just cast it. I've got an Android phone, I've got a Google Chromecast. I just cast, Netflix, Amazon Prime. We've got the Australian Formula One Grand Prix on the moment, so I wake up in the morning and just cast KO and show the Formula One on my TV screen. So to think even like maybe 10 years ago that you could do that, you'd still think that's 20, 30 years at least here in Australia for that to happen. So.
Yeah. And I guess what does I mean, Anne and Graham, maybe for you too. You've been involved in doing these live streams, eclipses primarily. What's involved in putting together a live stream? I guess there's the technical aspects as well, uh, and logistics of setting up. I mean, can you run us through briefly? I guess some of the major items that are on the list of to do to create a live stream.
Do you want to start off, Graham?
Yeah, well, I suppose one of the very early stages is, these live streams are a very collaborative exercise. We have feeds coming in from all across the world. So, really, the very first steps in these things are getting out, building the network, making sure that we have telescopes on the ground in enough places to give full coverage of the event, whether it's an eclipse or something else. That kind of is good for the viewer in the sense that it gives you different views of an event. A lunar eclipse, for example, is fascinating when you can see the same moon from different parts of the world and you can see different orientations of the Earth's shadow against the moon. It's also very good from the very practical point of having some redundancy against clouds and bad weather and all the other problems that can beset live streams. So that's really kind of the starting point for our shows.
Yeah, I mean, you obviously you guys are not working in a vacuum, right? So yeah.
No, and it goes into a lot of preparation goes into the show. One, by making sure that we get in touch with collaborators, like we did with Matt. All those feels like a lot of years ago, doesn't it, Matt? And
Yeah.
the other thing is just preparing, right? There's always something that's going to happen, like just now with the alarm going, and I got saved by my colleague who came in the door at the same time and managed to call the janitor. So it's just crazy. There's always something that's going to go wrong, and you try to have everything sorted out. Stefan, our boss, Stefan Tolson, he has lists and lists of how many kilograms these different things work. Like he's got a suitcase, several suitcases that is our mobile observatory, but each and every suitcase is an observatory in its own, so that if any luggage is lost, we actually can still stream the eclipse. So it's just all these little bits and bobs that can go wrong, and sharing them and learning from them and practicing and doing all those things as well, which is so important leading up to the eclipse. And we also practice in the studio. We write a script, we go through the script, we talk to our partners if we want to interview them. Matt's been on the air with us, so there's a lot of prep And even then, it can still go wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I guess in a question for all of you is like, what have in your experiences over the years, what has been the biggest challenge, I guess, that that is kind of ever present in terms of astronomical live streaming that you have to deal with, that you know that this is probably going to happen during our live stream. There's a good chance it's, or in terms of setup or actually during the live stream. The, I'm just curious to see what have you come across, guys? I guess Graham, what do you have to say about that?
Uh, yes, I mean, the major problem is the very obvious one of weather issues and clouds and the sun or the moon disappearing mid live stream. I've got to say that so far in all of our live streams over going back to 2016, we've never yet been without live pictures.
Don't jinx us.
Yeah. The pressure.
Oh. You said it, Graham.
I'm making this is nothing to do with the future here. This is only talking about the past. And again, I mean that really, comes down to the work of making sure there is enough coverage with enough feeds from various locations. I mean, I'd say the great thing about that is that the astronomy community just by nature is extremely collaborative, and we're always amazed at the number of people around the world, be it professional observatories, amateur astronomy clubs. There are so many talented and experienced people who are happy to share their telescope images with the world. That's always for us, that's always the great fun part of doing these live streams. But yes, the answer to your question is very straightforward. Yes, clouds is always the number one issue that can affect live streams.
There's a reason why we call them our mortal enemy. So. Well, yeah. The other one is definitely internet as well. Especially when you're going off site, like in the November total lunar eclipse last year. We unfortunately we've got trees around the observatory, which makes it lovely. It's in a state forest. But it just meant that by the time the actual moon got above the trees, it would be out of totality. So we made the decision that we'd go down to Matilda Bay. And I've got a photo of our setup, Andrew. I'll just share that.
Okay, yeah, hold on. Let's see if we can.
So this was, if you ever come to Perth, it's a really nice place to visit. It's Matilda Bay. That's Roger. He's my live streaming buddy, and you can actually see our setup here. So that's Roger's telescope next to him, and he's got his monitor, his laptops and monitor. I'm using a CPC 1100, so Celestron CPC 1100, and using a Nikon D8 10A camera to take photos. And I've got my laptop, and I bring an extra monitor just so I can have what I'm displaying on there. And it's always good because, especially when you've got events where you've got 400 people, because you've invited them, told them where they're going to be, it's they can come up and have a look at the what they're seeing as well. So, but yeah, it was a lovely, it's a lovely bay next to University of Western Australia. And in the meantime, while it was clouded out, we had a couple of dolphins visit us. Another thing is also making sure you've got power as well. We were very lucky that when I scoped out the area a couple of days beforehand, that there was a barbecue that had a PowerPoint. So what that meant, I just had to bring a whole heap of carpet just for OHS reasons, and cover the massive amounts of extension cables that I had to bring to wind out to get to where we were. And so yeah, it's you could just do that with one trestle table with a laptop telescope and camera. And what you might not notice there is that there's also a little 5G mobile router as well there.
So yeah, it's interesting. We just got a question. Let's see if I can put this up here. From Science Plays says, I have a question. Are you really going to Exmouth, Western Australia in April 2023? And what if suddenly you get clouds like back in November 8th, 2022?
The good thing is they don't record a sound, so they won't hear me screaming, or Stefan and me screaming, and expletives.
Yeah, that is actually an excellent question. And the eclipse that's coming up this month actually does present some unique challenges in terms of live streaming. I could just Andrew, just do another quick share, and I could just bring up. I could bring up a map and a few other bits and pieces about the eclipse that's coming up during Global Astronomy Month on April 20th.
You have to
So
understand that Exmouth is a town of, and they're expecting anywhere between 10 to 50,000 people up on that peninsula there.
Right. So this is a map of the solar eclipse on April 20th. All of the light shaded areas are going to see a partial solar eclipse. So sort of in Eastern Australia, Sydney over there gets a 10% partial eclipse. The total solar eclipse is only happening along that very, very narrow, dark band running across the middle of the map. That's the path of totality. And as we can see from here, it only just clips the very edge of Western Australia. It just covers that tiny peninsula that Matt mentioned there, the Northwest Cape. We've talked about, having lots of telescopes in lots of places is the way to go for live streaming eclipses. But actually, in this particular case, there is only one tiny area that we can go to in Australia. The path of totality does also go up into East Timor and part of the West Papua province of Indonesia. But if we add on some cloud information to this map, we can bring up our cloud data, which shows the average cloudiness around April the 20th. If we do that, we've now put on the average cloud cover on this day onto the map. You can see that most of the map now gets covered with that very dirty gray color, which indicates very high cloud cover. East Timor up into Indonesia, it's very close to the equator. We're looking at around 80 up to 90% average cloud cover. Fortunately, Western Australia, generally has much clearer skies. The average cloud cover in Exmouth, the town where we'll be, is only around 16%. But it all means that for this eclipse, we really do just have one good shot, and that is our live stream location on that tiny peninsula sticking out of the side of Western Australia.
It's still cyclone season as well for us. There's actually one just off the coast of Exmouth, and it was tracking towards Exmouth, and thankfully it's done a bit of a U-turn. So it was like, oh, God, because this is we've been we've been kind of planning for this for 7 years, and so yeah, so any type of weather, it's going to be, oh my, this is 7 years of planning. At least you could say we didn't. It wasn't us that stuffed up. It was the clouds. So, but it does also go over Barrow Island, which is just slightly up from the Northwest Cape, and so you've got all these. I think it's owned by there's a gas plant there by Chevron. So there's all these guys that they're going to get a special area, a special place to be able to see it while they work. So they're quite excited. And there's the other thing, there's one road in and there's one road out. That one road is so there's Learmonth Airport, which is about 40 minutes from Exmouth. So you're going to have all these people fly in for the day, and then head back to the airport and then fly back out. But you're going to get a lot of people who are driving up, and it's about a 13-hour drive straight from Perth. And there are a lot of people which are asking, hey, can I just do this in one go? And it's like, no, don't. Like Nat Geo and Discovery Channel do a good job of telling people how everything in Australia is trying to kill you. It's kind of not right. But if you're driving at twilight and at nighttime up there, you've got feral pigs, feral cows, feral goats that will just walk onto the road and just make a mess of your car.
That's true. I mean, I've talked to folks that do a lot of live stream, and you do have to go to remote areas in many times to catch it. With the eclipse, because the path is so narrow, you're forced to go where that path is, and it could be in very inhospitable, extreme environments, right?
It's 41 kilometers for this one.
41 kilometers, the width?
Yeah. Yep, the width of, and you can, if you have a look at that part of Western Australia in a satellite, you get the winds warming up from the tropics and then falling back down, and they basically fall back around that area of Western Australia. So and it's dry air, so that's why that's desert. Like once you get past Geraldton, which is probably that's the bottom map icon, that once you get past there, it's there's not much to look at. That's a pretty boring drive to go from Geraldton up to Exmouth. So, but what there is lovely is off that coast of Exmouth, there's the Ningaloo Reef. So it's one of the biggest. I think it's the third biggest natural reef. And I've been able to swim that at Coral Bay, which is slightly down from Exmouth, and it's amazing to swim.
Yeah. Actually, the map that we're looking at here, this is our eclipse state page for Western Australia, and it kind of shows how the eclipse moves across Western Australia on April the 20th. We've got the 4 locations along the bottom of the screen, which are the key points where the eclipse starts and finishes in the state, and they tie into the 4 pins on the map that sort of go from the bottom towards the top. So the moon's shadow comes in from the southwest. The first bit of Australia, of Western Australia, to get a partial eclipse is that pin, the lowest pin, which is for Ackerstrom Island. That's about 60 kilometers, 40 miles off the coast of Australia. That starts there just before 10 o'clock local time. Totality starts at a place called Point Clotes, where there's an old lighthouse. It's just at the base of that peninsula. That's at around about 11:27 local time. And then the last place to see totality, it's all over in Western Australia just 8 minutes later at 11:35 at a little point called Tringa Rock, which is just to the north of Barrow Island, which Matt mentioned. And then the moon shadow kind of continues to move up to the north and to the east. And then the final bit of Western Australia to see a partial eclipse is that very top right-hand corner of the state, Turtle Point, and the partial eclipse ends there in the afternoon on April 20th. So yeah, this kind of shows how the eclipse develops and moves across Western Australia.
And to put West Australia into perspective, it's the second biggest state of all states and provincials around the world. There's only one in Russia that's larger than us, and you can actually fit Texas, Japan, New Zealand, and the United Kingdom and Ireland in West Australia, and still have a little bit of space left over.
Yeah.
We have a
And
question. Oh,
yeah.
yes, go
Oh,
ahead.
and so 79% of the population of West Australia is in that southwest corner of the Cape there, and 96% of that population is actually in Perth. So it is a fantastic state for dark skies.
Mhm.
That's incredible. Yeah. And I've seen some really amazing Milky Way kind of photographs coming out of there, live streams actually coming
Mm,
out from there. And that's something also that's very interesting in terms of live stream. We were talking about eclipses, but it's also some events where you really need dark side, like watching a really good meteor shower. It's incredible. Some locations around the world, in really dark skies, you can set up a camera, open up the shutter, and create actually a live video of meteor showers now in color, and it's
yeah,
incredible. And I guess, I guess it is. In terms of live, one of the big challenges is the fact of can you get a good enough signal, bandwidth from these remote locations to live stream without the signal breaking up.
and that's one thing that's with Starlink. I know they're PTSD now, but that is one thing that is quite amazing that you can, if you've got a Starlink dish, you've basically got reliable internet. So um, with Telstra, which is the main telecommunications company here, so that we do have reliable internet. But if the backup is Starlink. So we've got a Starlink dish from one of the state departments have here, and so that's going to come up with us. And so if something goes wrong, because there's so many people here, they're actually going that they're going to actually stop people from sending video live streaming. You can't send MMSs like multimedia messages. Uh, if it gets so bad that they need to actually also cut the phone calls off, you're only going to be allowed to text message because there's just so many people in such a small area that's not designed to have that many people. So, yeah, that's to have something like Starlink and it be reliable is such a relief. And but you also know now that hey, we get a Starlink, we can go out to the middle of nowhere and be able to live stream. You know, Rogers Place is about hour and a half out of Perth in the Central Wheat Belt. They've got better 4G mobile network than we do in the Perth Hills. So we've never, we can live stream from the Central Wheat Belt, and we've never had an issue with internet. So that was, yeah. So one of the very first live streams we did in May, because originally during the lockdown they actually stopped you from going into different sections of West Australia. So once they dropped the intrastate borders, we actually went to Rogers Place for a big party, and we did a live stream, and it was fantastic because if there was anything wrong with the computer with the telescope, you could just fix it right there. But we never had to worry about the internet.
That's a very interesting point, Matt, about the Starlink, being so controversial in the astronomical field, but yet there's a really neat application here that obvious, for remote locations, this would be a key to be able to do a successful live stream.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that you can kind of forgive them for the light pollution issues that they're causing, but at least they're trying to solve it, so make it reduce it. They could easily just go, deal with it, and you'd have to deal with it. But it also adds another thing, like you could live stream that. Like we get every time there's a launch of Starlink, you're just hoping that that I can get a good night's sleep that night, because you will get people call us, call the observatory. So I'll get to work and there's just a whole spate of phone calls from people that say, "Hey, I've seen these objects in the sky." We get Facebook message, we get emails, and then they also call the radio station. So I've got called up by some of the radio stations that have my mobile phone, and it can be like 4 a.m. and you go hello. Like, "Hi Matt, we got a notification." It's like, can you give me about 5 minutes so I can wake up properly and I'll be able to explain it? But again, that's free. It's free astronomy. I got into astronomy because they made a big deal about Space Shuttle Columbia flying over Western Australia in '95, when I was about 9 years old. Now, back when I was 9, Thomas the Tank Engine was a major part of my life. I was starting to get into volcanoes and weather, but I watched a really bright star move across the sky, and after that, that was it. No more volcanoes, no more storms. It took a little bit longer for Thomas the Tank Engine to get out of my life, but I was mad about space, and that was because the Space Shuttle Columbia with about 6 people flew over Northam, and that I watched every documentary I could. Thankfully, we were one of the first families to have the internet, so I was reading up all sorts of stuff on space and astronomy on the internet, and I can remember watching the Planets, the BBC documentary in the '99. I still have those videos, and I actually show that to my niece and nephews, because they're still good. They're coming up to 30 years old now. They're over 20 years old, but it's a decent documentary. So, that was something that was free, and now it's going to cost me my life, because astronomy is one of the only few hobbies that will turn millionaires out of billionaires. So.
We've got a question here, guys. Again from Science Plays. They're interesting. Maybe Graham, for you, what does a solar eclipse look like when you are in the middle part of the annular and total shadow in the hybrid solar eclipse?
Right. Again, this is another excellent question. The eclipse that's coming up on April 20th is known as a hybrid eclipse. We looked at that path of totality, that very narrow band that moves across the map. The interesting thing with this eclipse is that at the start of that path out in the Indian Ocean, and at the very end of the path in the Pacific Ocean, it's not a total eclipse that can be seen. It is an annular eclipse. Essentially, the curvature of the Earth means that at the beginning and at the end of the path of totality, there's some extra distance to the moon. So the moon appears a bit smaller, and instead of it being a total eclipse where the sun is completely obscured, it's an annular eclipse where the moon is just not quite big enough to cover the sun completely. And the interesting thing with that is that there are points where the annular eclipse turns into a total eclipse, where the moon and the sun are exactly the same size. And I think yes, we're looking here at here's a diagram that shows how this hybrid eclipse works. We can see that the curvature of the Earth actually adds a lot of distance from the observer to the moon. So in the middle there, you have a total eclipse, but at the top and the bottom, the curvature of the Earth means you're further from the moon, and it becomes this annular eclipse. In between, there are these points where we have this eclipse that's not annular, it's not total. The moon and the sun appear to be exactly the same size in the sky. And you do get this effect. We may have seen this effect of Bailey's beads, where just before totality begins, you can just see a very few blobs of light shining through the valleys on the moon's surface. With a hybrid eclipse, there are points where the moon and the sun are the same size, and you can see this Bailey's beads effect around the entire edge of the moon. And this was actually there was a famous photograph taken at a hybrid eclipse back in 1986 by an astronomer called Glenn Schneider, who got an image of this effect. But yeah, it is a unique view of an eclipse, and yeah, that's the answer to the question here. There is a point in a hybrid eclipse where the moon and sun appear exactly the same size.
Awesome. I knew you'd be able to answer that. I knew it.
And they're
Guys,
rare
okay.
because they happen mostly over ocean as well. So
That's true.
they don't always happen.
That's right. That's it. And it's
That's true. I mean, a hybrid eclipse happens, it's about once every 10 years or so. The last hybrid eclipse, which was back in 2013, the next one is in 2031. So it is about every 10 years or so. And yeah, as Matt said, I mean, these things generally happen over the ocean because that's what most of the Earth's surface is.
Actually, there's actually there's about I think 5 cruise ships going up from Perth to view the eclipse, and they haven't even bothered to count the small yachts or little dinghies that will go out there. So it might look like the Spanish Armada trying to invade England, off the coast of Exmouth, with all the boats. So one of our volunteers is now going on one of our aviation experts has organised with Business News here in Australia to book a Boeing 737, and it's going to fly the route of the eclipse. So one of our volunteers is going there as well. So he's going to get a pretty amazing view of it. But this is going to be my first total solar eclipse, and the one thing I'm really looking forward to is seeing it come towards me from the southwest. So yeah, I managed to watch. I couldn't be involved because I wasn't in America, but I watched the time and date live feed for the Great American Eclipse in 2018. But beforehand, they'd had one at Madras in Oregon, and it was 360 degrees. So I was able to put on some Oculus Rifts, and I was actually able to watch it from Madras, and you could see it coming towards you, but you couldn't experience. Like, you hear everyone going "wow," but you couldn't actually experience the drop in temperature as well. So that's another thing I'm looking forward to being able to see.
It's incredible. I just a couple of last points before we wrap up. I wanted to ask you guys, what do you? I'm going to ask each of you. And Anne, I'll start with you. What do you think that live stream astronomy really? And there's a broad question. Really is. What's the value that it brings, or excitement that people? Why do they tune in? I guess that would be it. Why are people watching live astronomy live streams so popular?
Well, I'm going to answer that with something very non-scientific, and that's because it's magic. It's just my first experience of a total solar eclipse was with Graham on the rooftop on the edge of the Andes Mountains in Argentina, just close to the Chilean border, 1,200 meters above sea level. and the temperature dropped from 30 degrees Celsius to 15 degrees Celsius during the event. The birds went crazy, the dogs were barking, everyone went bananas, and it was just magic.
Magic, yeah.
And that drives me. I just want to share that.
Graham, what about you? What do you think? Why is it exciting for people to tune into live streams?
Well, it is. I mean, that's the great thing about live streams is it can bring some of that excitement even through a screen. I mean, I've seen eclipses around the world, but actually, one of my favorite eclipse experiences happened remotely through a TV screen. It was the Great American Eclipse that Matt mentioned. I was in the Time and Date studio, well away from the action in Norway. But one of our partners for that eclipse was Western Kentucky University, and we had some cameras in the football stadium on their campus, which was on the path of totality. And these cameras weren't pointing up at the sky, they were pointing into the stadium at the crowds of people in the stadium. And the pictures that we saw during totality were just, I mean, it was spine tingling stuff. I mean, it just, remotely and through a TV screen, it just really showed you how quickly, how dramatically the light level drops during, the final few seconds before totality. It really showed you the reaction of people. I mean, people came down out of the stands, they came onto the pitch, people started screaming. It also showed you after totality just how quickly things return to normal, how quickly the light levels come back up again. And I was watching that from a distance over a TV screen, but that still remains one of my most memorable eclipse experiences because it really was spine tingling. Yeah, to watch that happen, to hear the response of the people. Astronomy live streams can be very powerful.
Yeah, definitely. And Matt, what do you think makes it so popular?
Well, from a southern hemisphere standpoint, it's like I like to show the northern hemisphere that you might have a cool star, but we've got all the best stuff in the southern hemisphere, and it's like a na. But
No bias there. No bias.
yeah. When you look at a telescope, documentation is like for northern hemisphere, find Polaris, you're aligned. Then there's the rest of the 2 pages is how to align your telescope in the southern hemisphere. But from a standpoint from me, I just love showing it off. Showing I would love it if I was running a night sky tour and someone came up to me and said I got into astronomy because we watched you live stream or we came up to the observatory. That would be like my life's mission. That's I've got one person, and the more the more I get, the better it gets. But I think it's one of those things that there's always people are going to look up. It doesn't matter how much light polluted the skies are, and wonder what's up there. And there's some pretty decent stuff, and you can just blow people away by like stuff like the Tarantula Nebula. It's the furthest thing that we can show at the observatory that's not a galaxy, and it's in the Large Magellanic Cloud. It's 160,000 light years away from us, and you're seeing it as it was 160,000 years ago. It's 700 light years across. It's breeding stars like rabbits because of the gravitational forces of the Milky Way on it. And so you're seeing some of the biggest stars that we've ever found in that nebula. And then you get people blown away by that. And then you go, all right, if we were to bring this to the same distance as the Orion Nebula, which is about 1,440 light years away from us, that's a decent, for most humans, that's a pretty decent distance away from us. But then you think that's going to take up something like 30% of our night sky, and you could read a newspaper with the light on a moonless night just from that nebula. And you just go, people just can't comprehend that. but there's a nebula like that, and that's probably one of just many infinite amount of nebulas just like that in all other galaxies. Like, there's the Carina Nebula. That's 250 light years across in one direction, but this thing is 700 times. It's going to probably make a globular cluster of stars. But even that, it just blows me away every time, and it's such a beautiful nebula to take photos of. It's a shame that it's so far away that at least with the Orion Nebula, you can be in the middle of the city and still get some nebulosity. But you go out to the bush and you see that, and it's just amazing.
Well, it's really cool because what you're saying here, I think, to sum it up, is that we always say astronomy. Outreach folks says astronomy is a great gateway science, right? But live streams really are a gateway into learning about astronomy and engaging people maybe for the first time into it. And I think just finally here, we just got a comment from an audience member in China who's watching us on YouTube currently. Alan, nice to see you. I'm glad for your question or actually comment, which is he says that astronomy live streams because in some places, like where I am, people do not have chances to learn astronomy as a high school amateur. He says live streams make astronomy approachable. You see? So we are having an impact with our live streams, and this is, and in some places, this is the way that they get to interact with the universe and find out new things, really explore the night sky, and introduces us to the wonders of the night sky. Really, it's that democratizing of astronomy, which I like to always bring up, I think, because that's what live streams do. It's so exciting.
And if people want to, we have our live streams that we did. We haven't unfortunately done it for every year just because we've been so busy here, but I'm hoping to start it up again after the eclipse. But if we do have the past ones on our YouTube page. So if you go to YouTube and put in Perth Observatory, they're all there, and the good thing is you can see the progression of starting off and then going all the way through and getting different tools that you could use. Because we use open broadcast software, and then we bring in Discord, and then another live streamer tells us about OBS Ninja. So then we can have multiple people on and do all these cool effects and that. And so you start to build up your own knowledge as well. So
it's amazing leveraging this technology to really bring people together, under one sky. That's fantastic. And that's, at AWB, that's what we're about. One people, one sky, and live stream really, really does that. It has the power to do that. And guys, we have to wrap up, but I wanted to
Andrew, just
Graham, yes.
just super briefly, we do just have to mention the astronomy live streaming
I was just gonna say that, Graham. I said it was good. Yeah, please tell us. This is the exciting announcement we have today that Graham, please share.
So last year at the Europlanet Science Congress that was held in Spain, Time and Date was involved in a session all about astronomy live streaming. We were working with Claudia Mignone from the National Institute for Astrophysics in Italy and Helen Usher at the Open University in the UK. And we brought together astronomers and science communicators and researchers and people who were involved in live streaming astronomy events. And we had a really hugely productive discussion and conversation. It was so successful that we continued it into a Zoom conference at the end of last year, where we brought together some of the leading live streamers around the globe. You were there, Matt, of course. You were there, Andrew.
Yep.
And again, we had some great discussions on the best way that the astronomy community can collaborate and make the most of astronomy live streams. And as a result of that, we have set up a special community on the Astronomers Without Borders website called astronomy live streaming. And it is a place for anyone that's involved in the planning or production of astronomy live streams. It's a place to share experiences and to collaborate and to learn and to look ahead to future events.
Exactly. We're really excited about this because this is a community, an online community AWB's hosting, where we're inviting everyone who's interested in live streaming and astronomy, has experience or is looking towards doing it, in different forms, be it planetariums, observatories, libraries, individuals, no matter where, universities, schools, high schools, doing this, looking to have a platform to discuss successes, challenges, outlook for the future. It's a place to really have a great place, a safe place to chat and discuss with like-minded individuals. So we are inviting everyone out there who's interested in live streaming and astronomy to come and visit us, become a free member at Astronomers Without Borders, and then join the astronomy live streaming community. It'll be really, we've got a link, I think, in the comment section for that. So just follow that link, become a member, and then join up with the community. It's as simple as
Andrew?
that. Yes, Matt.
There's a question there by Vlad Rodriguez saying, does AWB and Time and Date have a Discord channel?
Oh, we do not. Not yet. We do not. I see that Vladimir was asking. I don't know Time and Date, guys. Do you? No, we're not on Discord yet.
We do as well. We do, but I will have to appear on there. It's been quite light recently, so we call our groupies called Mortys after Rick and Morty. So the observatory's Rick.
All right, so Perth Observatory is on Discord. There you go, guys.
Yeah.
Okay. So with that, we're going to wrap it up. Thank you so much, guys. Matt, thank you at Perth Observatory for everything that you've contributed.
No worries.
And I wish you luck with the eclipse coming up. I'm going to be watching. I know everyone's watching. And Graham and Anne, thank you
after Graham said we never get bad weather, I'm going to have to do some pagan rituals. So yeah. Yeah,
you gotta be
prepared. We know whose fault it is if we get a cyclone or a bad weather.
Yeah.
So
I'll give him a bit of a nudge,
yeah. I'm in trouble. Right.
That's impressive. It's funny. Guys, thank you so much for joining. And everyone out there, stay tuned. Global Astronomy Month is just starting. This is the first day of the month. We've got a whole month long of amazing things, and including, of course, on April 20th, we'll be sharing Time and Date's amazing broadcast of the live stream of that beautiful hybrid solar eclipse that we were talking about today. So wish you guys luck. And everyone, folks out there, go to gam.awb.org or astronomerswithoutborders.org and check out our calendar of events. We've got all the links in the chat, in the comment section. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And remember to subscribe to our channel, whether you're watching on Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube. And until the next video, I wish everyone clear skies. Bye-bye.
एक है एक कौन एक आसमान From the pale blue dot to the distant stars, we are one. One people, one sky.